right, Chainsaw Man chapter 174 came out today, and there is just a lot to talk about here. I'm actually not ready at all. But just to start with, the chapter of this, or the title of this chapter is translated to aging, but in Japanese it's actually oi oi. It's pronounced oi oi because Japanese people. It's like a little pun, I would say, wordplay. Because Japanese people, they're like honorary British people, right? They say oi a lot. And in this case, the oi, the first oi is kind of just, I think it's just a greeting. But the second oi is like old, which is the subject of this chapter. Ba ba ba. Let's see. Ba, 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 ba. So the chapter starts with the Japanese political leaders and their meeting in this mansion, I guess. And we start with the Prime Minister of Japan, who looks kind of like Shinzo Abe a little bit. Um, so he's addressing the fact that Pochita, or the Chainsaw Man, is spitting back out, or he's erasing and then spitting out concepts, which is documented by their archive team. And I kind of looked at the some of the prime ministers of the past to see if like this is a reference to any political leaders in the 90s, as well as some of the other characters that appear. I couldn't really make any connections here because maybe there is some, and I'm just not like well versed in Japanese politics enough. But I did come across this guy. He looks kind of like Joe Biden. He is 100 years old, and he's still alive. In fact, most of the former prime ministers that I looked at are all pretty old and pretty lively. There's a bunch of them in their 80s and 90s and still alive. So that's pretty amazing. But anyways, this guy confirmed the erasure and the return of the ears, which leads to the Minister of Defense here asking Fumiko what they plan on doing with Pochita's power, to which Fumiko responds with to erase some harmful negatives in life. And that's literally what Makimo is planning on doing. So makes you wonder why the I guess the other devil hunters were going against her, as well as the prime minister's connection to her. Like whether the prime minister during Makima's time was aware of what she is doing, what her plans are. But we'll talk a bit more about this as we go into Japanese politics in a bit. But anyways, Fumiko reveals that the public safety sector has a working relationship with what is revealed to be the aging devil. So I was pretty adamant on this thing being the Mirror Devil. And I would say I was like 70-80% right, because I focused a lot on the aging concept of this devil. And in hindsight, aging probably more scary than a mirror. So I'll give myself like one pat on the back for that, even though I was not correct. There was actually a post on Reddit the last week, I believe, when the chapter came out, that said that like it's not the Mirror Devil, and they were pretty adamant on it being a primordial devil. And you know what? Turns out they were right. I laughed at them, but look at me now. But anyways, back to topic. Fumiko also revealed that the aging devil here doesn't want to live very much. It has no attachment to life. So, with a good offer, it's willing to let itself be eaten and erased by Pochita, which is unique. And this could be a social commentary on by Fujimoto on the current state of Japan as far as aging population goes. And I do feel like there are quite a bit of social commentary here, potentially. As one of the younger men in the room kind of brings up the logistics of actually erasing aging, because when you think about it for more than a couple of seconds, you will maybe find some drawbacks to just erasing aging entirely. So, before we get into that, there are two ways to look at aging, because in Japanese, there's like a special word for aging. Like, you know how when we say aging, it just refers to like getting older for the most part in the West in English. But in Japanese, when you say like the word they use for aging, which is also the title of the chapter, the oi, that word usually specifically talk about like being old. So there's two ways to really look at this. One is like aging in general. You're just getting older, growing in years. Or another is aging, where you only target like oldness. I think chances are it's probably the first one, just like growing in years in general, getting older in general, and not just like being old. I don't know if I'm putting this to the best of my abilities, but this guy kind of specifically brings up like mental and physical decline rather than growth in general. So he's actually, concerned about the logistics, how this thing is going to affect society as a whole, rather than just the benefits he can get from erasing aging. But Fumiko tries to give an explanation that when ears are erased, the things that relates to sound and ears still persist in society. However, she ends that with she doesn't know either. And before we get into the next part, we should discuss what erasing aging actually would look like in this world, as well as like the positives and negatives of doing so. doing so. Ooh. So, an obvious negative is that children are never going to get older. If you have like a 6-year-old, he's going to be 6-year-old forever, and that might not be what you want, because taking care of a 6-year-old is not pleasant. And while people are gonna not die of old age, they are still gonna die of other causes, like accidents, violence, and especially violence, because in this world there's like devil attacks. And we learned way earlier that like I think 70% of the world are going to die of devil attacks at some point. So that's not going to be good for your population. But there is positives out of this, which is that the Death Devil is probably going to be somewhat weaker when it shows up in the next half a year. But when you think about it, this fear of death is only going to be subsided in the immediate future, right? Because people are going to realize they're not growing older, they're not dying of old age. So, which is what's going to depower the Death Devil. But soon after that, when they start dying of other causes, that fear of death is going to come back, and arguably even stronger than before. So, as a whole, erasing aging, maybe not a good idea. Fumiko tries to reassure the government officials about the public safety sector being able to control the Chainsaw Man, control Pochita, and which is a pretty bold claim. But which is why I guess Fumiko came up with, or I don't know if she came up with, but she led with getting rid of aging to appeal to a aging group of powerful people. But anyways, Fumiko reveals that the aging devil's terms is for the Japanese government to kill 10,000 children under 9 years old in front of mirrors, which is pretty metal, pretty horrifying actually. And even the government officials here are kind of baffled. They don't really want to do that. But this old man, this guy, he has no hesitation. He said, fuck those kids. And even beyond just taking a quick opportunity to like be immortal, this guy was ready for it because apparently his grandson had a whole orphanage ready. So I guess it's like the German government people, right? They had like orphanages of children ready to be sacrificed. And this guy, he's the oldest man in the room, and he is the first one to be ready to get immortality, or at least immortality from old age. And again, this can also be another form of social commentary, right? In that the oldest people are screwing over the younger generation for very selfish reasons, which is a common talking point during times like these, during modern times. And this old man then asked a younger government official, Mr. Takanashi Miki, that in case there aren't enough orphans to kill, he can adopt kids from other countries, bring them into Japan, give them Japanese citizenship, and then sacrifice them. So again, some possible form of social commentary here in that in recent times, to combat the aging population crisis in Japan, they have been opening up immigration more to get able-bodied workers. So in real life, Japan is using immigration to combat their aging crisis, which is depicted in a more literal form here. But the guy has more morals than the old man, the Mr. Hasegawa Tadashi here. And he really doesn't want to kill a bunch of innocent kids. So the old man, in response, threatens his kids, which gets the younger man to agree. And a quick tangent here. So you might be wondering why this old man, Mr. Hasegawa, is calling all the shots. Because he isn't even the prime minister. He's not anything. He's a former minister of finance, which in theory is significantly a lower position than the prime minister. That's not the prime minister. Here is the prime minister. So you might be wondering why the real prime minister is just very quiet, not really doing much, while this guy's taking the lead in the discussion. And the answer to that could be that we need to familiarize ourselves with the Japanese political system, because in Japan, you don't really. You know how in America we kind of vote, and in a lot of Western countries, we vote directly for. Well, not really directly, but we do cast votes for. We have some say in the leader of the country. In Japan, not quite. You vote for the party, and then the party kind of votes and selects internally who is going to be the prime minister of that party. So the prime minister, in theory, doesn't really have that as much power as, say, the president of the United States. And which is why the prime minister of Japan also changes a lot. So if you pull up like the list of Japanese prime ministers, a lot of them only have like been in office for 1 or 2 years, and sometimes they all like step down and then go back in again. Um, but yeah, so since like 1950, there is 34 prime ministers, and that's not even counting like like stepping down and then going back in. So they see the prime minister changes a lot, not a whole lot of stability there, which can also explain why previously Makima seemed to have a deal worked out with the prime minister at the time. But then this prime minister doesn't. He seems like he's not quite in the know about what's going on as much as he possibly should be. And this could also explain a little why the American president seemed to know more about Makima and Pochita than this guy does. So it's possible that between 1997 and 1998, the prime minister of Japan changed. Because that's actually, I think that's what happened in real life as well, that there was a change of prime minister in those years. But I can't be too sure. Um, but yeah, there's also the topic of the, I guess, the devil hunters opposing Makima in the past. Because according to Fumiko now, they're doing pretty much what Makima wanted to do a year ago. But then they opposed her back then. So I think there's two possibilities for this. First is just that everyone who was opposed to Makima back then just died. So now the public safety sector are all filled with people that kind of share her vision. Or another option is, I think it's also a possibility that Fumiko could just be making decisions outside of the consensus of the rest of the public safety sector. Because some of them seem to genuinely hate Denji and like Chainsaw Man in general. So she and Yoshida could be just doing their own thing, completely separate from the rest of the public safety. I don't know if that's the case. I think that's less likely. Or maybe the public safety just learned what Pochita could do and then had like a 180 turnaround. But anyways, the old man here, Mr. Hasegawa, tells Fumiko to give them the call to get it done. And then they're ready to kill 10,000 kids in like 2 days, which is a lot of child murdering to do. And Fumiko very enthusiastically, like just saying, yes, let's go. She's excited for this. She's ready. And she picks up her phone, she calls, and here's a pretty clever panel usage here in that the panels cut off their mouth before the big reveal that Pochita ate the mouth devil, which is really weird because just when we are starting to think that the public safety might not be entirely incompetent, we learn that they send the mouth devil to fight Pochita, which is really dumb. I don't know why they did that. It's super baffling. And Pochita, along with the mouth devil, apparently ate the snow devil, the bitterness devil, as well as Yoshida's octopus devil. Now, Yoshida probably isn't dead because he is supposed to be a more major character. I think we would see his body if he's like dead. But but apparently Pochita can just eat part of a devil and and erase them. He doesn't have to eat all of it from what it appears here. But another quick look at the devils from Division, I believe like 7 or 8 or 5. I've one of the numbers, one of the ones that got like one-shotted two chapters ago. So that's the Ear Devil. Looking back, that's possibly the Snow Devil because she had like a snow cap on. That's not a snow cap. I forgot what that's called, but that's something you wear when you're like playing in the snow. This thing is probably the Mouth Devil, and the Bitter Devil could be one of the two. I'm leaning more towards this guy because his head and his body is like scrumbled up, and that's a bitter melon. If you don't know what that is, it's like I don't know how to describe it. The picture here looks like it's like a really small cucumber, like a jalapeno, but it's a lot bigger than that. It's more like the size of like a radish. But yeah, this could be the Bitter Devil as well. I don't know if it is. Her skin is like kind of dark. Maybe it's like a coffee. Alright, I'm getting a little racist. Let me stop doing that. But anyways, Pochita has no mouth. So the question is, how is he going to erase other devils or throw up what he ate before? Because Fujimoto is pretty talented at like not using dialogue, but he's not gonna do no dialogue for the rest of the manga, right? So at some point, Pochita is going to have to throw out the mouth devil. And how he's going to do that, I think, is probably Yoru cutting him out of his guts. We haven't seen Yoru in the like 2-3 chapters. She's eager to fight Pochita. She has sword weapons, so that's probably what's gonna happen. Yeah, and that's about the end of the chapter. Oh, one more thing is I was ready to make a video. The past couple weeks I've been making like a script in defense of Fumiko because, I'm like the only one that's doing that. I feel like before this, maybe she had possible reasons for being the way she is. I think that's out the window because she's ready to kill like 10,000 kids. I don't think that's something you really can defend. Yeah, and that's about it for me. Let me see. Oh, actually got a lot of comments today. All right. Let's see. Ralph says, you got here. You don't know if I mentioned it, but did I notice Fujimoto is playing the same No Evil here? I see No Evil, I guess. Or No Evil all. I'm actually not quite sure what that means. Yeah, see no evil, hear no evil, speak no evil. Yeah, that's one of the ideas that some people brought up in the when these guys showed up a couple chapters ago, because that's a mouth, that's a year, and I think they theorized that maybe this guy had like skin conditions, so possibly like do no evil. That's the idea that was thrown out a little bit ago, but not really elaborated on by the fans because, these guys like died right away. But I suppose you might be talking about like see no evil as in like the mirror and then hear no evil kind of thing. Possibly. But aging devil using mirrors is super cool. People see themselves age by looking at the mirror. Yeah, aging is pretty scary. Pretty scary stuff. I'm about a few years away from 30. It's scary, man. I can see like the wrinkles on my face every day. It ain't fun. The Shin Godzilla is a good example of Japanese politics. But I actually haven't seen that yet. I heard good things about the new Godzilla movie. Um, but yeah, I wouldn't be surprised about like Godzilla being very deep into Japanese politics because the whole concept of like Godzilla started from the fallout of them being nuked. So a very naturally political series. Let me see. Probably people saw how Makima's method worked. Look at Barham and public safety using devils to fight. Crazy that Pochita erased mouth devils so he can no longer vomit out devils. Yes, that's what we mentioned here at the end. Fumiko is superficial. Stop aging is great for her. She can pretend to be a high schooler forever. That's a great point. She can pretend to be 17, season 5 for the rest of her life. Snow Devil was personal for Aki and that Denji snowball fight. Yes. At the same time, the snowball fight was in Aki's mind, so Denji really doesn't know what's going on there. But narratively, yeah. But different contracts have different penalties. Hear no evil, see no evil, or speak no evil, see no evil is next. Yeah, I do think you can potentially argue that the mirror of the aging devil is part of the see no evil concept, but we'll see what happens next. I feel like in the immediate future we'll probably be moving on from this and move on to Pochita and Yoru, but Emo Girl is probably bitter. Hot Topic got erased along with her. I think Dog Human Thing could be Sight or something. I assume we're talking about this. I think that's probably the mouth, but I've heard people theorize that she could be like a nose devil, a smelling devil, because of the snout here. But Fami can't be happy for erasing. Actually, I think it's a double-edged sword for Fami here. If you erase the mouth of everybody's gonna be hungry, which means that Fami is going to be significantly stronger in the coming chapters. Until, the people's mouth grow back. But who knows how long that's gonna be. But elephant can't catch a break. Yeah, this elephant is getting it. Da-da-da. Do I think the aging devil is stronger than the falling devil? Oh, that's a good question. But I think like aging and falling are two significantly different kinds of fears, right? Because like your fear of falling is an immediate fear. Like you know, maybe you trip, fall off a bridge, you're like, oh shit. And then that fear lasts very like that's a really peak fear, but it lasts a much shorter amount of time, right? You're really scared for maybe like 5, 6, 7 seconds before you fall to your death. Whereas your fear of aging is like a constant, it's going to be exponential as you age, and it's just going to be way higher. So it's two different kinds of fear. Ah, I don't know. It's like if you're saying if the falling devil is going to fight the aging devil like tomorrow, I think I would say like I would pick the falling devil just because I feel that immediate life threatening fear is like a possibly like a stronger type of fear comparatively to aging. Let's see. But yeah, what if Pochita erased Writing Devil? I actually never seen Has Been Hotel. I heard decent things about it. Haven't had a chance to watch it yet. Personally, for me, for like Western shows, I like to wait for the whole series to be finished before watching it. Just because a lot of shows that I kind of have interest in just end up being canceled like after a season or two, and I don't like it when that happens. Let's see, the erasing aging wouldn't erase organ failure or nervous system wearing out. It wouldn't stop dying, but it would be like plastic surgery forever. I don't necessarily know about that. I think it makes sense what you're saying, but it's like when people say stop or like reverse aging, it does mean a lot of different things to different people, right? Because some people maybe think that they can like regain their cell functions, cell rejuvenation, but like theoretically, right? If you're 20 forever, what does that mean really? Like, because your brain isn't. Because in real life, right? If you're 20 forever, that doesn't make logical sense biologically, right? Because you're going to be like each movement you take is going to affect your bodily function. So you're not going to be 20 forever, like logically speaking. I don't know if I'm making sense here, but it's like if you gain new memories, that's a passage of time. So I guess not aging just means your body stays in your current condition forever or something similar to that. It's but yeah, no, it's I don't think maybe we should think too hard about like the logistics of stopping aging. The octopus death matches the theater scene with the dead squid, Fumiko's first appearance. Yes, I still wonder which devil that was that Denji was sucking on. Because we see Yoshida's octopus, it's really freaking strong, but I can't imagine the squid in the theater being as strong because apparently they got killed by some like random freelance devil hunters. So I don't know. Isn't falling also include mental stuff? Yes, the falling devil had like a mental attack for everyone in the vicinity to like. I guess they're it's like a falling into despair kind of thing where they take a metaphorical sense. But in this case, aging is also like already a kind of, I wouldn't say it's like not a, it's not an abstract concept because aging does happen, but it's, I'd say it's more like a, like you can't see it immediately, right? It's gonna be lingering in your mind more than like your observation. Like falling in grades, falling in finance, falling in mental health. Yes, there's a lot of ways you can use falling. So I think that's probably like a point for the falling devil in that you can use the phrase falling very liberally to describe a lot of fears. Gargoyle devil dying because Fuko's relative to die. The hunters can have multiple contract with different penalties. Yoshida wouldn't necessarily die from it. Oh, I guess you're talking about shoot, I forgot the guy's name. The blonde guy from part 1. I think you're talking about when he used the Stone Devil on the Darkness Devil, and then the Darkness Devil like killed the Stone Devil, which in turn shattered the guy into pieces. So I saw some people brought that up as like evidence that Yoshida died. I don't think that's necessarily the case. Even in the even in like for the stone guy dying, right? I don't think that's like a case of their contracts binding their lives to each other as much as just like the darkness devil being so powerful that he can like kill two guys with one hit. Um, bu- bu- bu. But yeah, I think because we've seen like the Fox contract with Aki, he got like messed up left and right, but then Aki was relatively unharmed from that. So I don't think it's like a stand from JoJo where you hurt the devil and then you hurt the contractor. I don't think their bodies are related to like that. Da-da-da, what theory is the most outlandish for you for Chainsaw Man? Oh, actually, it's hard to really like pick theories to critique or like to in general because I feel a lot of theories for this series are kind of based on very random things, right? Because I've really seen like theories about Chainsaw Man actually come true. Like like even today, like going on to the past week, going on Reddit, like a theory is the top theory for that is that Nayuta is alive because in the volume cover, she is covered in the shadows of a cloud, and then they show like another picture of Aki and Power. It's like a cover of a chapter color page of them being like in the light as they're walking away as evidence that Nayuta is alive, which I feel is very reaching. And that's how I feel for a lot of theories, in that there's just a lot of reaching and a lot of stretching. And that goes for like a lot of stuff I say too, right? Because I'm just rambling on here every week, and then they're not necessarily the best theories to off the top of my head. What do I think the next episode is going to be about? Probably going to be hard to predict. I think Yoru is going to cut Pochita's stomach and then drag out at least the mouth devil or possibly other devils that Pochita's eaten in the past. Because Pochita has no mouth, he needs to throw up. He needs to get the devils that he's eaten out of his body at some point. So that's how I think. That's what I think is going to happen next. How do you think the aging devil attacks? We saw people cutting their fingers to cause a hit command. So we saw the aging devil attack being like the mirror attack. They manifest the mirror and then punch Pochita from above with it. And that's probably its primary function, but like I think it can also just attack with like any reflection, right? Or even create its own reflection, because the falling devil created their own gravity, or like anti-gravity, where they create doors and then it drags people into hell with by like reversing gravity. So I assume maybe the aging devil could manifest mirrors across the environment to attack, or also to just like, because the falling devil had when the falling devil first showed up, it causes everyone in its vicinity to like jump off a building. So I feel if the aging devil appears on Earth, its surrounding human beings might just grow old and like crumble into from their oldness, or like make people feel that way, feel old and decrepit, possibly. What primal do I think will show up? There's there's a lot of primal fears, man. I think we've already covered like my biggest fear, which is falling to death. I don't like doing that. Uh, let's see, what else am I particularly afraid of? I'm pretty afraid of like losing limbs, but people in Chainsaw Man loses limbs all the time. I don't know if there's like a specific term for losing limbs. Let's see, Nayuta could have moved her mind via Chang. Also, we don't know how resilient devils are to beheading. Also, if Fami can create fake Chainsaw Man, why not a fake Nayuta? Ooh, yeah, I guess like a fake Nayuta has been a pretty common theory cope, potentially. I don't necessarily think it's a fake, just because Fujimoto doesn't have like a history of making fake dead bodies in the story. Like if you read like part 1 and even Fire Punch, if you see like a corpse of a character, that's most likely going to be them. It's not like I can't really think of any other series off the top of my head. Maybe like Naruto had like a couple fake out death scenes. Sometimes they had genjutsu death. It's like, oh, this character's dead. Nope, turns out it's a genjutsu. Or One Piece has like fake death scenes like every other chapter. So I don't think Fujimoto really has a history of doing that. I think some people do still think that it's a fake head, because from what we were shown, the Nayuta head didn't have like her signature mole on under her left eye. I think Fujimoto maybe just forgot, but we'll probably see in like the next couple of weeks. But Mirror reminds me of Man in the Mirror stand from Golden Wind. I'm not the biggest JoJo watcher. I still haven't watched part 6 yet, but I think I do remember that. That's the guy that the Poison Man fought. The I don't remember the name of the guy, but his stand was Purple Haze. Yeah, mutilation is probably the word for it. Diseases, suffocation, and isolation could be primal. I think. Ooh, I think isolation is a really good one, because it's like a really unique kind of fear in that feel you don't really fear isolation until like you're already isolated. Suffocation seems a little specific. I don't know if like people are really afraid of suffocation on a regular basis. Maybe some people are, but it's like if I'm not doing stuff related to my throat, I'm not like eating, I'm not like drinking something, I don't really think about suffocation for the most part. Disease, Yeah, probably disease. I think it's also a little broad, maybe, but it's like we had there's also we have really weird names of devils in the past, right? Because Makima did reveal that we had like a whole we had like Nazi devils, we had the World War II devils. So devils could really be anything. Ba-ba-ba. Makima had a fake death. Yes, yes, she certainly did. And I was actually, back then I thought the same thing with because my experience with Fire Punch. I also thought Makima was straight up dead. That's why I was pretty surprised when Makima like stood back up back then. The future devil feels so weak in part one. I actually disagree with that a lot. Because the future devil. So here's the thing, right, about the future devil is that he sees the future. Not only does he see the future, he actively manipulates like what you do to get the outcome that he really wants. Because if you remember in part one, when the future devil went up to Aki and showed him the vision, I think you can argue that it's not really the vision that like actually happened. Because Aki saw Denji killing him and Power. But that doesn't like quite happen the way he saw it or the way he described it. And that I guess you can argue that Denji killed Aki, but he didn't like kill Power. At least the future devil couldn't show Aki a vision of him killing Power. Right? Like the most, if it's just like vision based, the most he can show is Makima shooting Power in half. But like that doesn't. But then the future devil showed him like Denji explicitly killing Aki and Power. So it's like you can even maybe get from that the future devil could show them false scenes of the future, like just straight up false visions, maybe. And the future devil in part two, I feel like, is very how do I say it? I feel like he's also manipulating most of it, what's happening in part two, but that's something I'll have to like. That's an idea that I've been developing lately. That's something I'll have to work to be to like make sense of myself as well. But yeah, there could definitely be a poverty devil and and an ex-girlfriend devil. Let's see. Someone with mental disorder could not feel fear, start screaming in terror after her mind I guess, tricked into thinking she was suffocating. Possibly, possibly. I just don't think suffocating is going to be that big of a fear. But then again, we have the octopus devil, which is really strong. And I think more people fear like suffocation than they fear octopus. Or who knows, maybe there's a lot more people that are scared of octopus than I thought. Do I think the gun devil is going to arrive again? Yeah, because the other countries have like most of the gun devil. I think they said like America had like 40%, Russia 20%, China like 4% or something like that. So gun devil probably going to show up in the immediate, well, not the immediate future, but sometime pretty, maybe not like right away, but they're going to show up. There's also a bit of unexplained part about like the bomb and the gun devil having a partnership that was never elaborated on ever again. So I do hope we'll get some clarity on that. We've seen contracts with the future devil. We haven't seen the future devil fighting. Oh, that's what you're referring to. I don't think we'll ever see the future devil fight. Because if the future devil can, you know, actively see the future, they don't really have a reason to fight. They stay in the background. They, even in the contract, right? They just tell the person they're contracted to, like, what to do. Show them visions of the future, and that's it. I don't think they're ever going to actively fight. Because, like, imagine this. Like, if you can see the future, right? would you ever fight, or would you just, if you see yourself fighting in the future, you would, a better option to take is just to not get yourself in that situation at all. That's kind of what I see the future devil's mindset is. It's the ocean devil gotta be strong. If the octopus devil is that strong, potentially. I think it depends on like if we're in the real life, I think the ocean devil might be stronger because the water level is rising a lot. But I don't know like how big of an issue global warming is in Chainsaw Man at the moment. I think when the falling devil showed up, Yoru did mention that the gravity like affected the world a lot, and I think had like landfalls and earthquakes in other countries. So that could potentially be a future point. People fear water because of suffocation. That is true. That is true. People do fear water because they could suffocate. When I swam in elementary, I was in like second or third grade. We had like a school swimming class, and then I this is weird because I learned how to swim before that, but for some reason there's so many of us. I started panicking. So my head was underwater, and I started grabbing this girl and like started drowning her too. So yeah, drowning, suffocating could be a pretty. I think it's like the same level as falling in that it's like the fear is they come like suddenly, not quite something you were always thinking about. If Nuke Devil gets vomited out, Reze and Yoru will get a crazy power up. Yeah, yeah, definitely. Well, not Reze, because the hybrids' power aren't correlated with like their devil's power. Like how if people fear chainsaws, Denji isn't going to become strong all of a sudden, but Pochita is. Let me see. Gun Devil mechanics were different than Aki. Aki just used guns. Gun Devil was instant eradication. I do think that Devil's fighting is different than Devil Contracts fighting. Imagine Chainsaw Man had their own little disaster curse and called it like Calamity Devils or something. I mean, they might, because there's already the weapons devils. They got the horseman devils, and they got the primordial devils. So we have a lot of classification of devils already. So I don't see why calamity devils, not devils couldn't be a thing if Fujimoto chooses to do that. But yeah, no, you're right. Typhoon was already a devil, and it didn't seem that strong, to be honest. In hindsight, I do feel like the Typhoon Devil should have been a lot stronger than what he was. But considering that the world of Chainsaw Man is like a world of conflicts, maybe weapons and bombs are still on people's minds more than natural disasters. You do wonder if there's a part 3 they would introduce angels. Yeah, we haven't really seen any angels outside of, Angel, the devil. Um I don't know, because there are a lot of biblical references in the series, but at the same time, the series as a whole is really cynical. So, like it takes it has its own take on Fujimoto has his own take on like religion, cults, and I think his own message on that. And I don't know if what he wants to say about like religions and cults would be undermined if he actually does introduce angels and God and whatnot. But typhoon was only scary in parts of the world. People living in islands are not afraid of the desert, which is a good point because that does make you wonder if like devils are stronger in certain parts of the world. Like if there's an earthquake devil, right? Would it be a lot stronger than in Japan than they are in like say Canada, right? So that's a good point to make. But you don't think there will be a part 3? Um yeah, Fujimoto kind of has in terms of on the art side of things at least. And he right before part 2 published, he also made this one shot called Look or not Look Back. He did make that, but another one was just references make some burnt out, but the big expectations that part 1 had and the effect that kind of had on him. So you getting a little burnt out. I think he also said that he wants to focus more on the story in the future and less on the art. Maybe even like hire someone else to do the art. So potentially, but again, Fujimoto is so far like a more specialized in short stories. So Chainsaw Man is like his first publication that's just longer than 100 chapters. But GNG, my mic. Oh, my mic keeps going off. Yeah, it's been happening a lot lately. I think maybe it's like the USB port that's not quite working as well. But yeah, anyways, a calamity devil would go hard like if it's a mix of every natural disaster. Yes, I think that's a Greek mythology monster, isn't it? Like Typhon, isn't it? I think he does that. Or maybe I just got my Percy Jackson mixed up. Would eyes disappear? I mean, if Pochita ate the ice devil, probably it would disappear. I assume like everyone just have skin over their eyes. Chainsaw Man Part 2 is good on its own merit. It does feel that it's all over the place. Yeah, I plan on like making a video at some point, maybe when we're closer to the ending of part 2, like comparing part 1 to part 2 cuz I'm a bit split on this cuz I do feel that people unfairly compare part 1 to part 2 and that they only remember the best of part 1 and not necessarily like the slower parts and then like compare the entirety of part 2 to the peak of part 1. But at the same just yeah, as you said, there's a lot of it's a little disconnect sometimes. I do feel that as well. But yeah, it appears that my mic is still going in and out, and we've been streaming for close to an hour now, so it's probably I feel a good place to stop. This is the longest I've next week